Hi, I'm Lisa. Welcome to my glass studio. I realized recently I had a class and I realized that there are some things I show my students in class that I haven't shared with you on my YouTube video, so I thought I would do that today. Right here in front of me are some samples. I made these quite a while ago, and what I'm showing here is the different fusible materials we might choose to use in a project, how they're affected by heat and temperature and time, and how your project might be affected by what you fire on and how you layer your project together. So I'd like to kind of go over these with you, and so you get a real solid idea of why you might want to choose one temperature over another, why you might want to choose one process over another when you're building your project, and what are the pros and cons of those choices. So let's go over these three first. All three of these projects are made with 2 layers of glass. So there's white on the bottom, white on top, and then I have a variety of materials here. I have a regular sheet of glass, piece of glass. This is a noodle. This is coarse size frit. This is fine frit, and this is powder frit. And then this is a stringer there on top. So you can get a sense of how those materials will react and how they'll fire in at a full fuse temperature. At a full fuse temperature, we get this beautiful rounded edge. You can't see the edge. The pieces are completely melted together. We have a very smooth surface. This is a great process for something where you want it to be very clean. You want it to be very smooth. Maybe it's going to be a piece of art that you intend to display on a table, or something where you want it to have a very crisp look to it. Or you want to use it for something to serve something on. Maybe put a candle on it. Maybe serve food on it, cheese or something. If you're going to serve food on it, not all glass is food safe, so you want to cap it with clear. But in that case, you probably want something with a very smooth finish. When I make my sinks, of course, I want a very smooth finish because you want the inside of the sink to clean easily. You don't want soap to stick to it. You don't want people's fingers to stick to it. You want it to be just, beautifully smooth visually and physically to the hand. So that's when we would use a full fuse. Now I want to show you the back of this. I made this quite a while ago, so I still have a piece of tape stuck on there. This was fired to 1500 degrees, and it was fired on shelf paper. It was a material thicker and more textural than papyrus. And can you see the texture that I have on the glass there? So whatever you fire your glass on, it'll pick up that texture. So if you want a smoother backside, then you want to fire on a primed kiln shelf, ceramic shelf, or fiberboard shelf, or on thin fire fiber paper. Then you'll get the smoothest back that you possibly can. Now, why would you want a textured back? Maybe it's something that will help diffuse the light and make it filter through the glass more. Maybe it's something you're going to glue to the wall, and maybe it's a tile. The texture will make the glue stick a lot better. Maybe it's something that you want to glue a sawtooth hanger on so you can hang it on the wall as a piece of art. Then this texture will give that glue and that sawtooth hanger a little more tooth to stick to. So this is an example of firing on something that has a little more of a texture. All right, this one. This is a contour fuse. Oh wait, this said 1500 on the back, but it's really 1465 is what I would fire this one to. This is a contour fuse, and for System 96 or 96 compatible glass, this is fired to 1425 degrees or 1400 for 90 material. And here, because it was fired to a lower temperature, we have a lot more texture. Can you see how the light bounces off of these pieces more than it did on this one? See how this one's smoother? This one has more light refraction. We still have a relatively smooth edge, but look, right here, you can see where the 2 layers were put together. On this one, you don't see that at all. So you get a little more of that textural quality on the edge as well as on top. This has more lift to it than this one does. This definitely has visual texture and physical texture. The light bounces off that really nicely. So this type of firing you might use for a piece of art where we're not going to serve on it, not going to put a candle on it. You wanted a little more texture that would bounce the light off it and give it a little more flash when you look at it. Now this one was also fired on some paper that gave it a pretty good amount of texture there. So that texture is something that could be beneficial or not beneficial. If I'm making a really pretty bowl to place on the table for display, I generally want the back to be smoother. Unless I'm going for something that's maybe a marble or a stone look, then that texture is awesome. So it depends on the application. All right, now this is a tack fuse. Look how much texture this has. It has so much more texture. I mean, there's no way you're serving anything on this, but this would make a beautiful piece of art where you wanted to have the light bounce off of that texture on top, where you want something to be decorative. Now a candle inside something like this would be beautiful because you'd have so many more facets for that light to bounce off of. Definitely have a lot of texture here on this noodle. Now I want you to really pay attention to this right here. Look at this edge quality. You can really see how the two pieces were put together. You can see the two layers of glass. Now compare it to these two. Let me see if I can hold all these up at the same time. Okay, so this one, beautiful seamed edge. This one, a little bit of visual texture. This one, you can definitely see how it was manufactured, assembled, or fabricated. Whether you want that or not, I don't know. Now, if this is a tile going to get glued to the wall, that's going to be hidden by grout anyway, so no big deal. If it's something like a woven piece or something, you know, purely decorative, maybe that's fine. Maybe that adds to the design. Now, one thing you could do if you didn't care for that is you could fire the two white pieces alone to a full fuse, get this smooth edge quality, then put these other pieces on and tack fuse it, so you'd be doing two firings instead of one. Now this is done, let's see, I got my cheat sheet right here. This is $13.65 for 96 and $13.85 for 90 material. Now, if you want to know where I'm getting these numbers from, I'm making them up. Only kidding. You realize I've been doing glass 38 years? Isn't that amazing? 38 years. I better know this stuff, right? Okay, so on my website, I've got free tech docs, fusing stuff. This is the cover of this one particular document there that you can read right online, or you can download and put it in your file, and then you have it anytime you need it. And on here, I've got my firing guides, and I've got for 90 and 96, I've got these beautiful little pictures. Now this front cover didn't print as nicely as it should have. The second page printed better. And here's the tack fuse and a slump. And here's some graphs that you'll find very helpful because it gives you a visual sense of what's happening in your kiln, at what temperature, and how it's affecting your glass. So on my website, fusing guides and more, I think is that section. That's what it's called. Now these three right here are fired on a single layer of glass. Single layer of glass. Now, traditionally, most of the time, I will fire my project using two full layers of glass because I get nice edge quality, the projects retain their size and shape, and I don't get stuff like this rough edge here. Can you see that edge? How rough that is? It's really rough because, and also this was done on paper, so it's got a lot of texture there. You know, did we show the back of this one? We did not show the back of this one. This one was fired on a kiln shelf. Look how much smoother that is than this one. So if I were making a beautiful plate to display on a table, I would want this surface on the back of it, most likely. Unless I was going for something specific like a rocky granite look, then this would be better. If I was going for something smooth where I really wanted it to look professional, I would probably want this on the back surface. So let's put these back. All right, so this one. This is a full fuse. Full fuse, we tend to, it tends to pull in a little bit. Let's compare it to this one. Okay, I don't know if you can tell, but this has shrunk a little bit. It came in, like it shrinky-dinked a little bit. A single layer of glass will tend to shrink in on itself. When it does that, you get kind of a thicker area around the perimeter, especially in the corners. You tend to get this rough edge. This tends to bow in a little bit. And you don't have, wherever you have your design elements, a lot of times students will contact me with a piece that has broken and they're like, why did it break? And often it's their construction or their fabrication method. This type of construction, if you have a bunch of two-layer area and a lot of single-layer area next to each other, that piece of glass on the bottom can't necessarily support its own weight and it tends to break. The way to eliminate that problem, that potential problem, is just fire this entire thing on a piece of clear. Add another piece of glass to the bottom on clear, and then you eliminate that problem. So here's the full fuse. You can see it's very smooth. These two smaller sizes of frit have no texture. They're just shiny. But I want you to point out also that they have no physical texture, but they do have visual texture. So when you use different sizes of frit, you will still get a sense of that they are, this is really dense. This is a little more grainy, kind of like sand. So you will benefit from using different sizes because they will give you visual looks that are different, and you get different colors. You just won't have any texture at the full fuse temperature. Now this one, it seems like the stringer was pretty straight on this one. No texture on that noodle. Definitely have variations in the thickness. I don't know if you can see that here. This much thicker here, thinner right here next to it. All that is potential for breakage. So unless this is something like an ornament or something very light, or a sun catcher, you want to be wary of or cautious of building that way. So my whole intention here is to give you, when you start a project, is to give you purpose and give you knowledge, so you're working on something purposefully, not accidentally. And you can do this type of construction purposely all day long. Just be aware that that's the kind of construction you're gonna have, and that's the durability that you can expect from this type of project. All right, let's look at the contour fuse. This one's a little bit lower temperature. We didn't get as much bulking up in the corners. We have less, a little more texture here. You can definitely feel this green, the fine there. Feel that texture much more than this one. Got a little more texture here on that noodle. This was fired on textured paper, so we got a lot of texture going on there. Look at this rough edge. See, that's because you have a single layer. Let's compare it to this edge, okay? Now let's do this. See how much, let me get this edge. This is the one that's really textured. Look how textured that is, and look how smooth this one is, okay? That's because the single layer shrinks, and as it shrinks on that paper, it drags and creates all these little spikes. So if you want that, that's fine. But if you don't, then put a piece of clear under it. That simple. All right, so this is, let's see, $14.25 for 96 and $1,400 for 90 material. And again, all that information is on my website, so you can go there, find it. I said you can print it, you can download it, do whatever you like. All right, let's check this one out. This is the tack fuse. This has a lot of texture. Look at all the texture here. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, and this, even the powder here is texture. It's just wonderful. This has a lot of texture here, sticking right up on top. This is right on top. These are sitting right on top. We didn't get as much shrinkage because we went to, what did we go to? We went to $13.65 or for 96, $13.85 for 90. So we didn't get the shrinkage because we didn't go as hot. Didn't have that opportunity to come in on itself. This one was fired on a primed kiln shelf. Look how beautiful that surface is. Really nice and smooth, beautiful shine to it. So again, it depends on how you're going to use your piece and whether that's something that adds to it or distracts from it. And that's where you want to have the knowledge to make those decisions purposefully. So great examples. You might want to make some of these for yourself. These are about 3 inches by 3 inches. You don't have to go that big. It'll give you a good indication of how these pieces work. And to be honest, this is orange glass right here, but look how red it looks. It looks like a true red, right? So not only did I get a sense of texture and how things fire, but I also found out that this orange could be substituted for red on certain projects. You know, maybe you sometimes the red is so dark, it doesn't photograph well, it doesn't show well. Like a red Christmas ornament, a deep red is not going to show well on a tree. It's just going to absorb the color of that green, whereas this orange might show better and be more effective. So when you approach a project, often what I like to do is think about, what's my end use? How do I intend to use this piece? Do I tend to, is it just something to sit on the table? Is it something I'm going to hang on the wall? Is it something I want to put, maybe display on, put a candle in? Maybe I want to serve out of it. Maybe I want to put apples in it or something. How do I want to use this project? And that would help determine what approach I take to building it, whether I'm doing a single layer or whether I'm doing double layer. Now, of course, this is more material and more weight. Not great for something that you want to be delicate or real fine looking. Then you might want to go with this. But if you go with the tack temperature, you're retaining you're retaining the texture, you're retaining the shape, and you're also benefiting from all those different materials that you're using. So, like I said, you may want to consider making some of these for yourself. If not, you're happy to, just kind of reference this video whenever you need a little reminder of how you may want to approach a project. Now, there's one other thing I want to bring up, but I didn't have it here on the table, so let me grab it right over here. All right, so here it is. I'm coming back. Okay, here we are. All right, so when you have a project that has a bit of a texture on the back, on the edges, there's a thing called a sickle stone. You can buy this at your art glass supplier. It's under $10. It's 12 inches long. When you drop it on the floor, this is what happens. And then you have one to share with a friend. Now you have two. And you don't really need 12 inches long. Plus, they're a little bit heavy. So this is much more manageable size. Anyway, it's just a file. And it's inexpensive, very fast and easy to use. And what you do is you simply, when you have this kind of edge quality, if you take it to the grinder, it's going to abrase the entire edge, making it white and sort of looking like, like a tire tread. Maybe you don't want that on this shiny portion of your glass, but down here it's okay because this is annoying. It snags your fingers, it doesn't look professional, and I just don't care for it. So what you do is you take the sickle stone and you work it at about a 45-degree angle to your glass, and you just run it along the edge and on the corners. Now this is great if you have a project that's woven, because that tends to have little sharp areas and tiny little spots. And now that's not sharp at all. This edge is definitely sharp, and this edge is not sharp at all. Still has a little bit of a texture, but it's not sharp. You don't have to worry about it cutting somebody, or sometimes it just kind of sticks to your finger. Well, that's not any fun. So, sickle stone, art glass supplier, under $10, great tool to have in your studio. When people would make beveled glass, they don't want to use a grinder on the glass at all because then the glass doesn't have that beautiful prismatic shine. So what they do is they take thicker glass, they bevel the edge on their equipment, and then they would take something like this to take any sharpness off without creating any kind of a brazed edge that would distract, would distract, yes, would make it so it's not shiny, okay? Because they put a lot of time and effort into bevels, and that glass is soft, so it scratches so easy, and it's expensive, and it's, very labor intensive. So that's kind of where we came up with the idea of using this for stained glass and for fused glass. Now let's say you're making a stained glass window, and you have something that's really sharp and you're letting it, but it's gonna cut you. Well, there again, you can take this to it and just wipe it along that edge, and it takes the sharpness off, enough where you can handle the glass safely. So you might want to get one of those if you don't already have it. Thanks for joining me. I hope seeing these samples helps you understand how temperature and construction affects the finished quality of your projects, and that in the future you can approach those projects with knowledge instead of with questions. So, reference this video again and again if you need to. Make sure you check out my firing guides on my website, where we have all that information handy for you, easily accessible, for free. There's about 6 or 8 documents there that you're going to love. One of them, frequently asked questions, a lot of information in there that you'll find very helpful. I just actually updated that to include a few more things that came up recently. So anyway, thank you for joining me. Please like, follow, subscribe, comment. We love when you comment. Share. We love when you share. It makes us feel loved. And we certainly do love you because we're out here making these videos for you all the time. And we're just having a great time doing it. If you have suggestions, please send them our way. We'd love to have them. Also, join my premium video membership. We have 31 full-length courses, step-by-step video instruction, full-size printable pattern ebook, full-size pattern, color images, materials list, helpful tips, and firing guides for those specific projects. So become a premium video member today. Do it. What are you waiting for? 31 courses that are just amazing. Coming out with a new one very soon. Looking forward to sharing that with you. And until next time, happy fusing.